Gemara in Sukkah tells us, B'achris Yomim, when Mashiach comes, there'll be a terrible, terrible funeral. Crying bitter tears over the Satan, because when Mashiach comes, like the sun at midday, every human being recognizes the purpose of life, and the Satan is out of a job. And the Gemara says, why should we be crying? Should be laughing, dancing a jig. The Gemara says, because the tzaddikim see the Yetzer Hara, and the Rishayim see him. And tzaddikim see him as a powerful, powerful mountain. And they say the words, how could we have conquered this mountain? The Rishayim see him as a thin thread. How could we have failed for this? Each one cries, the tzaddikim cry, the Rishayim cry. And I'd like to ask the obvious question on this Gemara. Why the Rishayim cry, I get it. Imagine in that one moment of clarity you get it. I blew it. I wasted my life. I could have been great. I could have been tremendous. And I blew it. I'm nobody, I'm nothing. I fell for the oldest trick in the book. But why did the tzaddikim cry? They won the war. Why did I cry? And the Marsha on that Gemara explains. And I'd like to give you a mashal to understand what the Marsha is saying. Many years ago, I was a high school Rebbe, and I pulled out a muscle in my back, and a friend of mine took me to the gym, and I met Art D'Antonio. Art D'Antonio was the weight training coach. During this course, at a certain point, there was a fellow in the kollel who saw that 3 times a week I would go to the gym, and he asked if he could join me. This was a very yeshivish fellow. I don't think he owned a pair of running shoes or gym shoes, but Art was a gentleman, and he worked very carefully with this fellow, and eventually the fellow learned the technique, and eventually was getting stronger and improving his general health. At a certain point, this kollel fellow turns to me and says, that coach, I don't know what's with that guy. Every time I get the motion right, he puts more weight on the bar. What's wrong with him? And I wanted to yell at this fellow. Nardibis, do you understand? Progressive weight training is about increasing the load on the body. It's not about going through the motions. It's about increasing the weight so your body is forced to respond. And that's how the Marsha explains this Gemara. Hashem created a Satan whose job it is to test us. Literally like a personal coach, he knows our strengths, knows our weaknesses, and he's only allowed to test us exactly to the limit of our capacity. But he's on the job 24/7, 364, all day, every day, waiting there. And when the tzaddikim in that moment of clarity understand who they became, they only became because of their personal coach. Their best friend, the Satan, who was there every day coaxing them, demanding of them, not allowing them to be complacent, constantly testing them, constantly giving them nishonos, and it's only because of him that they became who they were. Says the Marsha, they cried because their best friend was just shechted. And this understanding that Hashem knows what he's doing, and Hashem gave us nishonos for one reason, for us to grow and accomplish. And there'll be many times when you say, can I make it? Can I do it? And the answer is yes, because Hashem doesn't allow him to test us more than our ability. When you understand this, you understand life. You understand the strangeness of the generation we live in, and you understand one of the major factors of a person's growth and eventually his great success.